Dr. Patel has recently written a piece for Lancet about the lockdown and its impact on India.
Let's be honest, as the lockdown is lifted, we will see more cases. It is inevitable. And I hope very much that the established strategies that are known to actually contain the epidemic are twinned with using India's fundamental strength, its people, its communities, and its frontline workers to actually stem the tide.
So I think a lot of people are under this impression that if after so many days of being locked down, we're not flattening the curve just yet, and if we open up, it will actually increase the number of cases. I think there is a sense of a little nervousness, butterflies in the stomach. If you
Unfortunate this messaging wasn't so clear at the beginning. The fact is that only 5% of Indians are above the age of 65, where most mortality is concentrated. And here's another very important fact that we forgot to account for. About 50% of all the deaths that have occurred in Europe and the US are in old age homes, in care homes. This is a particular kind of extremely vulnerable population of people in which transmission occurs at a very heightened rate. This particular social structure does not even exist in India. So if you account for that 50% in care homes and the fact that we have such a small fraction of our population in the elderly age group, you realize that these low mortality rates that we are so lucky to have right now could have been actually anticipated right at the outset. That if you're healthy and if you're young, this infection poses absolutely no risk to you. However, it is our duty and responsibility to protect the elders in our communities and in our homes. And to do that, we need to be very, very rigid in practicing respiratory hygiene and etiquette. We know all the things that we need to be doing. And I think it's our moral responsibility to do that. And you see, Nidhi, what has happened in the last 4 or 5 weeks is that most routine healthcare services have been put on pause. And if you had conditions like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and so on, it means your routine care has been affected. Now, those are far more lethal conditions than this particular virus is when you're 50 years old. All I'm saying is that we need to put the risk of mortality in the right perspective here. I think we do need to re-engage with our everyday life. This is what makes us who we are as human beings. Social interaction is fundamental to human society. So I do think masks are important, but I don't think we should put a huge emphasis on this. This could be a natural adaptation that we make for a couple of years. I think it's a sensible one. And I certainly think when we consider wearing masks within our home to protect older people, I think it's a logical thing to do. But yes, for a couple of years, being sensible, cautious, and responsible is the duty of every citizen, I think. I hope the first thing we do, and I really hope the Prime Minister and the Chief Ministers do this, is to do away with this traffic zoning of the districts of India. A district is a huge place. Instead, to actually do away with this absurd litany of rules, which I have to tell you, it's taken most people hours to figure out what works and where and at what time, etc. But instead to work towards containment in micro clusters of where there is a high prevalence, a high transmission rate, and for the rest of the country, to start moving back to normal as soon as possible with the minimum number of rules. Because let's be honest, the more rules we have and the more zoning we have that is complex to understand, the longer it will take for livelihoods and the economy to begin to return to normal.